Hey everyone, and welcome to r/Prorevenge. Before we start this video, please turn on your captions so it's easier for you to follow along. Girls shouldn't win math competitions, so my son should win. I'm a high school student, and this happened to me in 9th grade. I'm sorry for any grammatical errors because English is not my first language. My teacher decided that I should compete in a math competition because she saw potential in me. I agree because she was my favorite teacher. I did not really care that much because I was kinda lazy at the time. On the day of the competition, I saw a kid, let's call him EK, boasting about how he didn't sleep because he reviewed everything. I was annoyed, but I didn't really think much of it. The results came, sure enough, he won. But I got second place. I was shocked and happy at the same time, and so was my teacher. Everything was all sunshine and rainbows until I heard this lady, entitled Mom says, "Good thing that girl didn't win. I was only 2 points behind. This is a math competition. My boy should win. He studied really hard for this, and a girl shouldn't beat him." I was livid. My teacher patted my back and told me not to listen to her. When they announced that I was in second place, entitled Mom started booing. This woman, I couldn't take it. So I devised a plan. This competition happened every year according to my teacher, and in grade 10, there was a regionals competition after. I swore that I had to win next year. The whole year, I taught myself various math equations, and my friend helped me with everything. I spent a whole year reviewing just to prove this entitled mother wrong. The next year, I entered the competition more ready than ever. I saw the boy again. Now even his mother is boasting about how he couldn't sleep knowing that he was going to win again, and that he is excited about the regionals. Everything she said just encouraged me to do better. The exam was kind of hard, but I managed to answer most of the questions while I heard EK said it wasn't that hard. I was not confident that I would win, but I was hoping. The announcements came, and they said only one got a score of 40 and above in every grade level. The EK was smirking, thinking it was him and telling his mom, "Regionals, here we go!" But to his surprise, I won. The look of shock in entitled Mom's and EK's face was worth it. They didn't utter a word. His teacher was just standing there, shocked. I gave them a big-ass smirk and went up to the stage, accepting the prize and everything. When I went down the stage, I saw EM crying and saying, "My boy was supposed to win. He was supposed to go to the regionals." And once I heard her cries of agony, the whole year of reviewing was paid off. I got second place in the regional, and I became friends with the guy in first place. Overall, it was a great experience, and I'm glad that I don't have to see EM and EK again because there is no math competition in grade 11. Exploit my mom's death and make my dad's life hell because you are rich and important? Be exposed in front of every important person in the city and lose your social status? So I told this story to my girlfriend, and she suggested I post it here. Before I start, a little background on my family. My father is a typical working class man from a poor family who worked pretty much his entire life. My mom, on the other hand, comes from a very important and respected family of my city. Her family is wealthy, with strong connections, and are friends with pretty much all the important people of my city, from the mayor and his entourage to lawmen and businessmen. Now, my mom and dad met a long time ago and fell in love instantly. Soon, they were married. My mom's family disliked my dad from the beginning. They saw him as a poor pleb and a disgrace to the family. When my brother and I came along, they also demanded us to be named from members of their side of the family since we would have my dad's last name, etc., etc. You get the point. Posh, arrogant pricks. When I was 8 and my brother 9, our mom got diagnosed with cancer. 3 years later, she died. My dad was alongside her the entire time. Her own family, not. Her sister, my aunt, was always absent in some formal reception and always claimed she was busy, and her mother, my grandmother, was claiming she was too old to move while her health was perfect. In total, they barely visited my mom in 3 years. The day my mom died, we were devastated. Both me and my brother cried like babies. We were kids actually, 12 and 13 respectively, and our dad was in shambles. Then it all happened. A few hours later, my dad gets a phone call. It's from my aunt, and she says they need to meet instantly. so he goes to meet them. What followed was mental. My aunt, with a lawyer on her side, started attacking my dad, telling him that now that his wife was dead, he was incapable of having custody of the kids, me and my brother, and that they should take care of us. My dad was furious and said no. They responded the next day with more pestering and abuse. Mind you, the funeral hadn't even taken place yet. This went on for years, each time different demands. They ended up accusing my dad of assaulting my aunt, causing a lot of people to turn their backs on us. They started sending my dad legal papers on what they could do, etc., etc. Then they tried taking away our inheritance based on stupid stuff. We ended up finding out that some money reserved for us had suddenly vanished, and then they called us and threatened my dad that if he doesn't give custody, they will not give us the money. Thanks to a stupid law in my country, they could do that. My dad felt like garbage. Many times, we caught him crying on top of piles of papers or hitting his head on the table in despair. In the night, we could hear him crying from our room and could do nothing about it. They made his life a torture. The only thing that kept him sane was my brother and I, and he was great as a dad. He provided for us, and despite his mental state being awful, he was an amazing dad. Fast forward 10 years later, the abuse stopped. My father found a girlfriend who is amazing and are happy together. Both my brother and I got accepted into university and are doing pretty well. My mom's family has stopped talking to us, and every time they try to make contact, we promptly ignore them. Until this summer. You see, this summer, my cousin got married. They invited us to the wedding. When I say us, I mean my brother and I. So we accepted and started crafting the plan. Because in my country, weddings are a huge deal. A lot of people would be there. And also, because of the social status of my mom's family, the most important people would be there. So we decided to use that into our advantage. You see, a lot of people had no clue about the whole story, only the parts they told them. It was exposure time. The big day arrives and I'm full on ready. I go to the church and outside I see the people. Then my brother arrives and we know stuff are about to go down. The reception starts and we are patiently waiting for it to end and the after party to begin. In the after party, which was in a huge mansion outside the city, everyone is present. We spot my aunt and my grandmother in a group of people. One of these people is the mayor. Bingo. So we approach them in a friendly way. My aunt says to the people of the classics, "Have you met my nephews?" etc., etc. Then we start hearing the conversation a bit. As we predicted, they started talking about my dad, how horrible he was, how he exploited my mom, and how lucky we are that he came out bright unlike him. That last one pissed me off. I raise my glass, I look my aunt in the eyes, and inside the whole group of the most wealthy, important, and prestigious people of the city, I say, actually, I unleash the whole story, all while praising my dad and damning my aunt and my grandmother. If I left anything out, my brother would fill in. After I finished, complete silence fell. My aunt was red from anger. My grandmother was on the verge of bursting into tears. Everyone else shocked. They started looking at them too in dismay and anger. My little cousin, not the one getting married, who was oblivious to the whole situation, wanted to just leave and was constantly asking my aunt, "Mom, is that true?" The story was presented with such attention to detail that they couldn't even deny anything. Then we say, the bombshell. At least we came out fine. Our studies are going excellent, all thanks to our dad. The last one was to rub salt at the wound of them. We then left them in shock. From other people, we later learned that everyone turned their backs to them. They became the shame of the city and ended up isolated in their big fancy houses. The mayor cut all contacts with them. So did all the businessmen and everyone, in fact. The big bomb was when a business they owned shut down because no one would fund them. I only feel sorry for the employees of them who were left without a job. Another big hit came when the municipal council, clearly by the mayor's orders, removed the commemorative plaques in some buildings they had donated money in. That killed them inside. They tried to reconciliate afterwards, but we ignored them. The most beautiful thing was when my dad learned of what we did. He was the happiest man alive. Seeing the rich, arrogant jerks who tormented him go down like that. Don't mess with us, even if you're family. Wow, that was pretty brutal. I love stories like that they got the justice for the dad. That's really cool. School principal was a jerk. We're from Texas, where football is king, and honestly probably given too much importance at the time. Backstory: our son, I'll call him Steve, was the starting quarterback of a high school with a long tradition of winning teams and many state championships. Going into his senior season, we were two-time defending state champs and going for our third straight. Just before the start of the school year in 1995, he tells us he had gotten his girlfriend, we'll call her Sarah, pregnant. Between him, her, and her parents, we worked out a plan. She kept the baby. They both went to and graduated college. They're married and have a couple more kids. The problem this post is about happened about a month into the school year. Sarah had quit the cheerleading squad before the school year started, was just starting to show, and one Friday her parents called to tell us that the school's principal is putting pressure on them to take her out of school and send her to a special school, especially for pregnant teens. We had decided we were all in this together, so we took the weekend to discuss it. In the end, Sarah wanted to stay where she was, and we felt her staying with her family and friends was better than sending her off as if she were some pariah. This was not what the principal wanted to hear. She said Sarah was an embarrassment to the school and she could not allow Sarah to ruin her school's reputation. And if Sarah's parents didn't do the right thing with their, I can't say that word, daughter, she would. She said Sarah could withdraw from school or she would be expelled. When Sarah's parents inquired about Steve's punishment, and before anyone asks, it was a fair question, and his mother and I understood there was no vindictive reasoning behind their asking. Her answer shocked us. She said that setting limits has always been the girl's responsibility. Boys will be boys. We left horrified by what we heard. We left that day horrified and with a crying and expelled Sarah. I told Steve everything would work out somehow, and just to go to class for the day. The rest of us discussed how to proceed. 2 hours later, I went back to the school, and after a brief discussion of the plan we'd come up with, my son withdrew from high school. He told the principal we would find a school that welcomed both of them, that we went home, and I called every member of the booster club to let them know why Steven was no longer the starting quarterback. Then we waited. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, we were already 2 games into the season and our starting running back was already lost to an injury. The thought of losing the QB that led us to the state sent the boosters into a panic. The principal butted heads with the boosters, the coaches, and other faculty members. By Thursday, she had been dressed down by the district superintendent, who we heard was worried Sarah's parents would sue. She called Sarah's parents to inform them Sarah's suspension had been rescinded, and she could return to the school the next day, then called us and asked if that would be enough for Steven to return to school as well. It was, of course. The kids were in class the next day, and Steven was on the football field that night. Those were some pretty interesting stories. Let me know what kind of stories you guys want to hear in the future. You know, crazy teacher, cheating girlfriend, whatever seems to catch your attention. And I'll definitely look for some stories like that and narrate them on the channel. Don't forget to subscribe, by the way, for more daily Reddit content. And thanks for listening.